Hello everyone, this is what we will actually create in this video. So we have a website with a simple navigation bar with some sort of hero section where we have actually a video that is looping, going forever, and it is autoplay. So once you load the page, it will start play automatically. Then we have some sort of button with a simple animation. Then we have some sort of call to action section on the website, the same button in here. Then we have about us, so that's like a interesting section. We have some sort of social icons in here with once again a hover animation. Then we have the services section of the website where we have some sort of services that we have. We have our team, so that's just a team of our people. Then we have the contact us, and lastly we have the footer. So this is actually the page that we will create. It is also fully responsive. So if I make the view like on iPhone X, you can see that the menu becomes block, right? It starts to be growing down. Then we have the hero section, same thing with the button, call to action, about us, services, yeah, our team, and contact us, right? It's a simple website, but it is totally responsive, and in my opinion it's just like very good to learn some stuff that you may want to use. So let's get into it. Alright, so I've got prepared a folder inside of which I have another folder with a couple of images, and I have also one video file that we will use for the hero section. I've opened this folder up in my Visual Studio Code, and let me just start out by creating some files that we will need. So we will definitely need the index.html file, so I will just create it like this. I will also create a new folder that I will call CSS, and inside of that I will create a new file that I will call main.css. And that is pretty much everything that we need. So right now, I will just open the index.html in the browser. And there we have a blank file, right? So there is nothing to be displayed yet because the file is empty. But we can start out with the whole tutorial thing. So inside here, I will just start out by creating a HTML tag, inside which I will have a head. And then underneath the head, I will have the body. So like this, body, and let me just save this thing. Also, I will have some sort of title. So title, we put the title inside the head, and inside here we can just type my template. And if I save this thing and reload the page, you can see that it changes. Okay, so we have linked everything properly. So with all of that being done, let me actually just start out by creating a comment that will say that this is a navigation. Alright, so inside here, underneath this, I will actually create the navigation. I will start out by declaring an header. So this is a HTML5 tag that we will use for the navigation, and inside of which we will have a, let's just use a div with the class of, how do I call this one? Let's just call this one logo. And inside of that we will have some sort of link with the href. You can set it yourself, and also yeah, we will just have some sort of text in here. So let's just call this one pro theme, or however else you want to call this thing. So if I reload the page, there it is. Okay, so pro theme. Then we will have also another, let's just call this one div, with the class of nav. Or let's just actually, change this to nav as a HTML5 element that will basically tell the browser, hey, this is a navigation. Okay, inside of this we will have a unordered list, and then we will have some sort of list items and some sort of links with the href being somewhere around the page. So let's just call this one about. So we will have some sort of element with ID of about, and we will link to this. So this will be some sort of about us text. So if I reload the page, there it is. We can obviously just copy paste these just to save some time. Okay, so I've changed everything, and let me just reload the page. There it is. Very nice. So I think that this is actually the header taken care of for now. Don't worry about how it looks. We will style it in the CSS in a minute. Okay, I will just create a new section. This one will be the hero section, and inside here we will create a new section, so section element with the class of hero, and inside of this element we will have some sort of video, right? So video element. The video element will have a source, and this will be just the video.mp4, so path to your video mp4 file. And then we will set just the autoplay, so the autoplay like this. Then we will say that this one will be muted like this, and we also want this to be loop so that it goes around forever. So this is just basically how you can describe this to your computer. So if I reload the page, we should be able to see a video. There it is. Okay, so we have a beautiful video with just one line of code. It's as simple as that. So that's actually pretty cool. Also, what we will use is another div with the class of hero content, and inside of this div we will add some sort of headings, right? So you will have the H1, so this is the most important heading on the whole website, and this should be something like our mission or whatever. Then we can have some sort of paragraph, or let's just go with a H3 heading describing our story is great to hear or whatever. Obviously you want to put some sort of real text in here, but for now we are good with these two things. Nice. Then we will also have some sort of button, so I will just create a new A as a link, right? Usually when you have a website and you want to add some sort of button, you usually add it as a link, and then you style this link so that it looks like a button. Okay, it's better for the SEO actually. So we will have some sort of href. I will leave it blank for you just to fill this up, and let's just call this one get started. And let me also add some sort of class to this, and let's just call this one class button, and let's just call this one main. Alright, so this is our main button, and we will style it via this class. So with all of that being done, let me actually start out with the CSS. So first thing that I'm going to do is just go to Google Fonts, so Google Fonts, and type this Google font into Google. You will click on the first link and you will get to this page, so fonts.google.com, and this will allow you to actually import pretty much any font that you want, or like very nice fonts that you may want to use in your themes. It's completely for free, and it kind of works all the time because, you know, it's Google. So it's very cool service. So you just click on the font that you want to select, then you click on the select this style, and I highly recommend you select the 400 always, and then I usually pick like 700 for these bold headings, and then I pick like 900 for the heading 1. Okay, so when you select all of these, feel free to click on this embed, and in here just copy paste this thing. So copy and paste it right underneath your title like this and save, but currently it doesn't do anything. What we also need to do is link to our style sheet. So link with the relationship being style sheet, and inside here we will define the href. So right after this we will say just the href is CSS and main.css. So we will link this file, the CSS file, into our HTML file. So if I close this thing, we should be actually good to go. So in our main.css, we can just then set the font family. Okay, so font family, railway, right? And we can do it for the whole body. So body, and we will say the font family for all the text on the website will be the railway, and it will be sans serif. So if I reload the page now, okay, so go here, and actually scroll down a bit just so you see the change. If I reload the page, you can see that the font really changed, right? So yeah, that's a pretty cool thing that we just did. Another thing that you also need to do is let's just go to colors.com or colors.co, sorry. And this is a free palette generator. So basically, if you just click on this start the generator, you can generate color palettes so that these colors look good together, right? Very simply. You just start the generator, like unclick these things. And if you want some other theme, because this doesn't look very good, you just press the space bar and it will generate some other color palette, right? So this one, in my opinion, looks actually pretty cool. So let's just go with this one. So what I will actually do is just keep this bar open and I will use it when I'm styling. So what do we want to do? Well, let me just start out with the navigation bar. Usually when you are styling some sort of CSS file or some sort of website, you want to make the classes as broad as possible. So for example, if you want something to be displayed as a flex, for example this header, you can just add some sort of class that will say that, okay, I want this to be displayed as a flex. And then when you want some other element to be displayed as a flex, you can do the same, right? You can just add the class and you don't have to edit out your CSS. So inside here, I will just target the display flex class and I will just say that this thing will have the display of flex as a Flexbox. So if I reload the page, we should have it like this. Yeah, cool. And we don't want only the header to be displayed as a flex. We want also this UL, right, this unordered list, to be also displayed as a flex. So display flex. And let me just reload the page, see how it looks like now. Okay, there we have it. Nice. So let me actually just add something called a container. You can notice that the logo is actually directly at the edge of the screen. We don't want that, so we will just put a div with the class of container, and we will just add some sort of margin. So we will take all of the content of the header and just put it inside like this. And also we can just remove the display flex from here and put it in here. So display flex. And let me just reload the page. Okay, cool. We are the same. We have everything the same. So now we can just style the container. So inside here, I will just put another class, container. And in here, I can just target the container and let's just say that I want the margin from left to be, let's just use 5%. Okay, and let's just also use margin from right to be 5%. Okay, so that we have a little bit of space around this, and we will use this class for more divs. Okay, so for the sections on the website, so that's why I'm calling this class. Cool. Now let me actually style this header a little bit. So let me just type in here the header content class, and let me just target all of these elements via the header content. So this dot header content will have a let's just say justify content, and let's just put this space around or space between. That will look better. So let me just reload the page, see how it looks like. There it is. So we have the navigation on the left side, the logo on the right side. Let me also just target the header, and let me just add some sort of padding to this. So there could be like padding on top of 1 rem and padding on bottom of 1 rem. So bottom of 1 rem like this. And let's reload the page and see how it looks like. There it is. Nice. Now what we can do is just set the font size for this. So font size, and let's just use 1.2 rems. Let's see how it looks like. We can then change the font size for the logo. This is more for the navigation actually. I think that we can just make it a little bit smaller. And let me also just style all of the links. So currently these links look horrible. So I will just target them in here, and I will style every link on the page via this, because there's just a better way to do this in my opinion. So I will just set the color to 222, so that's some sort of black, so it's changed. Cool. And now we can just remove the text decoration. So text decoration, and let's just make it none, like this. So let's just remove this thing. Yeah, there it is, no underlining. And let me also just remove the styling from our unordered list. So this should be something like an item style, list style. Okay, so let's style, and let's just make it none. So this should remove those dots. There it is, it's removed. Now, we can actually style these elements that are inside of our header. So let me just use, we want to put a little bit of space between these list items. So let me just actually style this as a, let me probably just remove this thing and put it in here. So let's just call this one navbar. And inside here, let me style it, so navbar. And we can just say that we want to justify content, and we want to, let's just use space evenly, and let's see how it looks like. So if I reload the page, okay, there is pretty much no space. All right, I get where is the point. Let's just target the list items let me check. All right, so we have a display flex in here. All right, I see where is the problem. Let me just actually just remove this thing, and let me just add a simple margin to this. So margin from left will be 1 rem, and margin from right will be once again 1 rem. And I've made a typo in here. So margin, and let me reload the page. There it is. There's some sort of margin around these links. It looks pretty cool, but what you can notice is that this logo is actually a little bit above, right? You can notice that this logo is somehow looking differently than these navigation links. Right, so let me target the logo element, and I want this to have the margin top of auto and margin bottom of auto, like this. And what this should do is it should let the computer compute the margin on top and margin on bottom automatically, so that the element fits in the center of the screen. So if I reload the page, you can see that it's centered. So that's very cool, and it's very simple to do. Also, let me just change the font weight of this to, let's just go with 700 and see how it looks like. So if I make the logo bolder, I think that this looks actually quite cool. Another thing that I would probably want to add is just in here, I would like to add a border. So border at the bottom of this navigation, and I would like to make it 1 pixel solid, and let's just go with like some sort of light gray. So let's just go with BBB. So this should be a light gray. So let's see how it looks like. Yeah, I think that this looks actually nice. So let me just go with that. And yeah, so let me just style out this header section. So we have the video in here, and you can notice that it's larger than our screen, right? So we don't want that. We want it to fill the whole screen, but not overflow. So what I will do is just say that the video will have the width of 100%, so that it fits the whole screen, but it doesn't overflow the screen. And I will just set the height to auto, right? So it will automatically compute the height of the screen, of the video, sorry. So there it is, right? You can notice that there is currently, it got a little bit smaller, but that's okay. Cool. Now let me just style the hero content. So hero content, sorry. Should it be hero content if I'm not mistaken? So if I just collapse this thing and check in the HTML, there is hero content. So yeah, let me just style it out, content. So we are currently styling this text, right? And how do I want to style this? So I would like the text to be somewhere above the video, so somewhere in here. So I want to put the position of this to be absolute. So absolute. and we want this position to be absolute towards this section. Okay, so towards this section that have the hero class. So what we need to do in order to do that is this class hero and set the position to this to relative, like this. Now we can just set that it will be at top of 50%. And let's see how it looks like. There it is. Okay, so it's somewhere if I use the developer tools once again to show you, if I hover over this thing, you can notice that this is the div, and the top border of the div is actually styled directly at the center of the center of this whole section. Okay, so what happens if we want to put it directly? We want the center of this div to be actually in the center of this section. So we can simply do that. Well, first of all, let me just say that we want it to be also centered from left. And now we can just do transform and then translate. Should it be translate? Yeah, translate. And this will actually, we can move the element, right, where it is, anywhere we want. We can just put some sort of pixels, right, so 10 pixels, we'll move it by 10 pixels, but we want to move it by minus 50% of the width of the element on the x-axis and minus 50% of the height of the element on the y-axis, right? So if I reload the page now, it's actually centered in the video. Very cool. Now, let me just use the text center. So text align, sorry, and I will just put it in center like this. And let's reload the page. Cool. And let me actually style these headings. So I have a H1 in there, if I'm not mistaken. So let's just say that the font size of this thing will be 4 rems. And let's just say that the font weight will be the 900. Okay, so 900. And let's reload the page and see how it looks like. It should get much larger. There it is. Our mission is simple. Okay, it looks pretty cool in my opinion. We can maybe play with this, make it a little bit more, yeah, larger. Yeah, I think that this looks actually better. Let's just go with the larger text. You can maybe play a little bit with the color and see what color actually fits this screen the best. So if you go with something lighter than the complete black, let's see how that looks like. Yeah, it really didn't help. If you go with a complete white, you will not see the text, or you will actually see the text in the fog, right, that is in the video. So this was maybe a little bit of unfortunate pick for the video, but yeah, you can actually see it very nicely in my opinion. So I will just keep it this way. Yeah, I will just keep it this way, and let me just style out the article, even though I'm currently not sure why there's such a big space. So let me just check with the developer tools. Okay, so the heading have actually some sort of margin, right, set to it. So we want to remove this. So we want to say that the margin, it was set by default. Okay, we didn't set it in here, but I will just remove it by typing margin 0, and it's done, it's gone. Cool. So right now, let me just style the H3 heading. We can put something similar to this, only this time we can just, let's just change this thing to, let's just go with 3 rems. And let's make the font weight of 700, and let's see how that looks like. So if I reload the page, our story is great to hear, and let's just make it even smaller. Let's just go with 2 rems. This should look better. Yeah, this looks actually pretty cool. Let's just go with that. And let me style out the button. So lastly, we have the button main. So button main, and in here, let me just say that it will have some sort of padding. And let me just define it. Let me just define it a little bit simpler. So if you put, for example, padding of 1 rem, it will have padding from every side of 1 rem. So let me actually just add some sort of background so that you can see it. So background color, and let's just make it black. And let's see if I reload the page. There it is. So you can see, you can notice that it added some sort of padding, but from every direction, right? So what happens if we put, let's just go with padding 1 rem and then 4 rems. Okay, so 1 rem, 4 rems. You can notice that on the y-axis it added 1 rem, and on the x-axis it added much larger space. Okay, so that's basically how you can set it via this one padding. Cool. Let me just change the color of this thing. So color will be white, and for some reason it actually overflows into this text. Let me just check real quick what is happening. So we have the, all right, it's a link. Yes, it's a link, so it doesn't have margin. So let me just add some sort of margin to the H3. So the H3 will have some sort of margin at the bottom. So you can fix this multiple ways, but I will just do it like this. So margin at bottom, and let's just do 2 rems. This should be enough. So 2 rem, let's reload the page, see how it looks like. There it is, so nice. That's because the link is actually a inline element, right? So it doesn't have margins on top and on bottom. Cool. But I think that this looks actually very nice. I would probably go with this. I wouldn't be afraid to look at this thing. We can maybe add the hover animation to this. So let's just go with button main hover. So when we hover over the element, we want the background color. Let's just say that it will change to something like, let's just see how it would look like if we just totally switch things up. So the background color would be white and the color would be this one. Let's see how it looks like. So if I reload the page and hover over it, you can notice that it changed from, yeah, I think that this looks actually pretty nice. So let's just go with that, and let me also add a transition property. Transition, and let me just say that this one will take 0.5 seconds and it will be easen out. And this will just basically say that the animation will take longer time and it will be like this smoother animation, right? Rather than the jump. So this looks much better in my opinion. Cool. But I think that this is basically the hero section taken care of. So let me just go ahead and actually create the the color scheme. So I will just go to the colors.co, and inside here I will just edit out these 2 colors so that this is our black. I will lock them up via this lock. So if you click on that, it will be locked. And we also have this white, right? So these are the 2 colors that we are currently using. Let me just generate some sort of colors that we may want to use. Yeah, I think that this yellow one might look actually quite cool. So let me just use this one. So I will just say that usually you don't want to call this, you don't want to call things in your CSS via the color that they look like or something like that. You want to use something like a primary color. So let's just give a class of primary background, and we will say that the background color will be this color, right? Because if you, for example, later on decide that you don't want yellow but you want purple, you can just change things up, but you don't have to change the name of the class. Cool. So with all of that being done, let me actually just create a new section, and let's just call this one call to action. Okay, and let me just go here, back here to our project. So I will just create a new section of the class of call to action, and let me also just add a class of section padding. So we will just style this class so that every section has some sort of padding around it, and we keep things consistent throughout our whole website. Nice. So then we can just have a div with the class of let's just call this one grid. So we will use CSS grid for this, and then we will have another div with the class of let's just call this one call to action content. I'll just, yeah, yeah, let's just call this one call to action content. And inside here we will have some sort of heading. Let's just use H2 for this, and this will just say some sort of call to action. Obviously we want to say some sort of better thing to say, and then we will have some sort of paragraph. And let me just fill the paragraph with some dummy text using the lorem ipsum. So lorem ipsum, and if you type this into Google, it will like put you a some sort of generator, like for example this one, ipsum, and you can just say yeah, there it is, right? So you can just copy paste this whole thing and you can have some sort of text on your website very easily. So if I just reload our page and go down here, you can notice that there is a lot of text. Nice. Let me also add to this the class of container, or let me actually, sorry, let me add it to this grid, because we will style this section. We will style it by saying that this will have the primary background. So primary background, let's reload the page, there it is, nice. And we will also remove the margin from this. So let's just use a class of margin 0, and we will style it in our CSS later on. And this will be just a class that will remove the margin, because we will use it probably more often than you think. Nice. So inside here I will just create a new div with the class of let's just call this one call to action button, and inside here we will have just the primary button that we've used already in here. So I will just simply copy paste it. So copy, close this thing, paste it in here, and let's reload the page. There's a button. Nice. So with all of that being done, let me actually style it out. So I will go back to our CSS and type in here first of all the class of margin 0, and this one will just say margin will be 0. Simple as that. So if I reload the page, there should be no margin. Alright. And because I'm getting a little bit annoyed by this margin, let me just add it to the whole every element. So every element, they have by default some sort of margin and padding. I don't know why. This is just the way it is, and you can just remove it by typing the star. Okay, so star in here, and this will target every element on your website, and you can just say that the margin and padding will be 0, and then underneath you can just change it in your CSS, right? So currently there is no space, but we definitely want to add more margin to the header. So let me just change this to 2 rems, and the padding on bottom also, let's change it to 2 rems, and let's see how it looks like now. There it is. Nice. So we can maybe add a little bit more, but I will leave that up to you. Cool. So with all of that being done, let me actually just style these things out. So we want the grid to be displayed as a display grid, right? So display instead of inline, we want grid. So this should display it as a grid. Let's see how it looks like if I reload the page. Really nothing changes because we didn't define the template, right? So in here we have the, all right, so let's just call this one 2 to 1. Okay, so 2 to 1, and this will, so a class of 2 to 1, and that's just basically like saying, or let me just, that's not, so let's just call this one a call to, and then let's just go with call 1, and so we can just type in here, so call 2 and then call 1, and we can just say that the grid, so grid template columns, and they will have a 2 fractions and 1 fraction. And let's just see how that would look like if I reload the page. Really nothing changes. So let me just check out the developer tools and see what's happening. So we have this whole thing display grid, but inside here we've didn't properly name this, so call to, so inside here we need to go and change this to call1, call2, like this, and let's reload the page. There it is, nice. And let me actually put this link, or we already have it inside a div, so let me just target this thing. So I will just copy paste it in here, and once again I will do the same trick. So I will just set the margin on top to be auto and the margin on bottom to be also auto. So auto, like this, and let's see how it looks like. There it is, nice. Then we can also just say that we can also define the section padding. So section padding, and let's just say that it will have a padding on bottom of, let's just go with 3 rems, and let's also add the padding on top. So padding top, and once again the same thing, so 3 rem. And let's reload the page, see how it looks like. There it is, nice. That might seem too much for some of you. You can always change this up, so I will just keep it this way. And let me also change the section headings. So this is a h2, and let me actually add a class to this called section heading. And we can maybe put a span in here so that it looks better. So span, hey element, this is just a inline element that have no semantic meanings. So basically it's just for CSS styling. And let me just style this thing up. So inside here I will just go section heading, and I will just say that the font weight of this thing will be 700. I will also say that the font size will be about 2 rems, and let's see how it looks like. There we have it. Wow, was it font weight? Let's just try to change this to 900. Let's see whether it changes. So font weight, yeah, it changed it. So it's up to you whether you want to use like this really bold. I will probably go with this one. And let me also target the span element that is inside, and we will do a cool thing that is very often used. So I will just target the span element that is inside section heading. Okay, so this selector, and let's just say that the color of this thing will be white. So this is very often used, and it looks very cool in my opinion. So you just change the call to, and then you change the color of some sort of span, or somehow you change the style of one word. Nice. Then let me just also add some sort of margin at the bottom. So let's just say that the margin at the bottom of this thing will be 1 rem. Let's just go with 1 rem. Let's reload the page, see how it looks like. There it is, there's some margin. Yeah, I think that the text is quite large. I think that this is really a lot of text. So you can just feel free to just edit these things out a little bit. Just remove some sort of text that is like this, for example. And let's make it actually a little bit smaller. So if I save this thing, let's reload the page, there it is. Yeah, feel free to actually edit this thing out a little bit more. You can maybe align the text to center. So for example, with this whole thing, let me just create a class for this. So text, and let's actually try right. So align the text to right towards the link, and let's just put it in here. So text right, and let's just say text align, and let's just make it right. And let's see how that would look like if I reload the page. There it is on the right side. Let me also add the container class to this whole div. So container, so that we have a little bit of space, so that it isn't really next to the button. And I think that this looks actually cool. We can just remove a little bit of more text just to see how this thing would look like. I think that this would look better. There it is. I think that this is good to go. So with the call to action being done, let me just start out by defining the services, or about us. Yeah, about us. Let's just do about us. So I will create a new comment. In here we will just call this one about us. and this will be a new section with the class. And currently, let me just don't add the class of container for this one. Okay, so we will just leave this empty. We can maybe call this one about, and this will be a grid, and this will be just call one, and then we have another call one. So like this. Then we will have a div with the class, or we can just maybe make it article. That would make more sense. So let's just change it to article. And inside here our article, and inside here we will just name this one about content, and we will have some sort of section heading. So h2 with the class of section heading, and inside here it will just say about us, and then we will have some sort of paragraphs, a couple of paragraphs basically describing our company. I will just copy paste this thing, so copy, put it in here, paste, and let me just copy paste this whole paragraph a couple of times. So let's see how it looks like. We should be able to get, yeah, there it is. It doesn't look great or anything like that, but we will style it later on, so don't worry about how it looks right now. We can just put a div in here with the class of image, or about image. Let's just call this one about image. Sometimes you don't really need to use these classes. I will just name everything, and then later on in the CSS I will decide whether I will actually need this class or not. So for example, with this I probably don't need to target this element via this class, but I will name it anyway. So I will have a image with the class of, let's just call this one image fluid, and we will style it later on, and we will have a source of this image going to image, and then let's just go with the first one. And let me also define the alt, so that's up to you to fill. But I think that we are good to go. So let me style this out. So inside here I'll just type call one, like this. And inside of this we will actually say the grid template columns will be just one fraction and one fraction. So both of these will take just half of the screen. Okay, and let me just set the class of image fluid. So image fluid, and this one will take the width of 100% and height of 100%. And let's see how it looks like. If I reload the page, there it is. It looks very nice in my opinion. Cool. So let's just go with that. So let's just change this thing to height auto. Sorry about this. Height auto. Let's see how that looks like. Yeah, there it is. Much better. It keeps the aspect ratio. Okay, so it's not skewed or something like that. Nice. So let's just use the text right for this about content. So text right, so that we align the text to the right part, like this. There it is. Let me also add the container class to this. So container, so that we have a little bit of space around this. Nice. Let me maybe create a class of yeah, let's see. Inside here we can maybe use the section padding. So section padding, and let's reload the page, see how it looks like. Okay, it looks much better in my opinion. And we can maybe just remove this last one, just so that it looks a little bit better. Nice. And let me just go to the CSS and actually target every paragraph that is inside of the about us section. So about content, sorry. And we will target every paragraph that is inside, like this. And we will just say that the margin will be, let's just go with 1 rem, but the margin from right, so margin from right will be 0. and probably you also want margin from left, or no, yeah, let's just go with this. I think that this looks actually nice, so let's just go with this. Yeah, I think that this is actually good to go. So let me just go ahead and copy paste these two things. So copy and paste, and then I will do this little trick that I will move the image right under this one, and I will just change it to the second one, and let's just reload the page, see how it looks like. Okay, so we have the another image, and then we have the another story. We can just remove this text, right? That makes no sense. And yeah, let me just also go to this. Did we use the about content? Yeah, we did only here. So cool. Let me just say that we will have about content right and about content left. Okay, so left. And so this is the left, and this one will be the right. So content right, and let's change this one to left, so that we can style it in here. And inside here I will just say that the margin from left will be 0. So let's just see, it should be moved. Yeah, there it is. So it looks very nice. Yeah, I think that this is actually way to go. I think that this looks actually very nice. And let me also add something called a font awesome. So font awesome, and let me just type in here the CSS link, so that we don't have to download anything. Okay, so let me just click on the second one, and in here let me just copy this link and go back to our index.html, and in the header let me just link this thing. So I will just go link the relation being style sheet, and the href being paste. So this whole thing. You can see that this is a Font Awesome version 4.7.0. So I will just go to Font Awesome 4.7.0 docs, and let me just open this thing up. So Font Awesome is just a free library where you can just use icons for free on your website, and it's great. You have a lot of social icons and stuff like that. So if you want to type search, for example, for, I don't know, like card, you can just find credit cards, right, ID cards, and all the icons that you can think of, right, is there. So we will use that actually to style out our section in our web, and this section will be with the social links. So I will have a new div with the class of social links, and inside here I will just have a let's see, it might be unordered list, and we will have list items in there, and there will be a link to our social. So inside here should be something like an href, and href. I will leave that up to you to fill. And inside here, instead of the text, we will have the icon element with the class of Font Awesome, and then is the Font Awesome Facebook, right? And let's just use square. So if you want to use some sort of icon, for example, Facebook, type in here Facebook, it will open up something, and you can just copy paste this code into your file, and there should be a Facebook icon. So if I reload the page, there is the Facebook icon, right? Cool. So let me just simply copy paste these things, and so that we have multiple of these list items. And let me just change this one to let's just go with Twitter, and let's just go with I don't know, YouTube Play. So YouTube, you can use YouTube, but the icon of YouTube looks a bit odd, so I will just use the play button, and everyone knows that this is a YouTube. So if I reload the page, there it is. Okay, looks quite nice. So now let me style it out a little bit in our CSS. So I will just go to the main.css, And then inside here, I will just type the social links. And we have a unordered list. So let me just use the display flex for this one. So we will have a class of display flex. All right, and this should be displayed as a flexbox now. Yeah, it is. Very nice. And let me just use, let me just target it. So I will put it inside here, a unordered list, and then we will have a list item. So let me style the list item, and this one will have, let's just say that it will have a padding of 1 rem and margin of also 1 rem. Let's see how that looks like. That might be a little too much of margin. Yeah, that's probably too much of a margin. Let's just go with 0.5. And let me also add a border to this. So border 1 pixel solid, and let's just go with some sort of gray like this one. And let's reload the page, see how it looks like. There it is. We can maybe actually try out the black one that we use all the time. And let me also try to do a border radius. So border radius, and let's just try 50% and see how things look out. There it is. All right. Yeah, I think this looks a little bit odd. What I prefer actually is just to use a smaller border radius and keep it kind of rounded square like this. Yeah, I think that this looks actually better. And let me also change the font size of this thing to, let's just say 1.3 rems. Let's see how that would look like if I reload the page. It should get larger. There it is. It's maybe too large. Yeah, let's just go with 1.1. So let's reload it. See, okay, I think that this looks actually very cool. We can maybe add the hover effect to this. So when we hover over this, let's just say that the background color will turn to this primary one. Let's see how that would look like. So if we hover over these, yeah, you can see, nice. And let me also add the transition duration, so transition property, and let's just call this one 0.3 seconds. And wow, 0.3 seconds, and let's just say ease in out. So if I reload the page and hover over these things, there it is. Looks nice. Cool. So I think that this is actually the About Us section taken care of. So let's just move on to the actual services that we can use. So all right, let me just go ahead and create a new div, a new section with the services. So first of all, I will create a comment called services, and inside of this I will have a new section, and this section will have the class of services. So class services, and it will have a, yeah, we will use a display grid, and it could have a call, let's just use call one, and call one. So like this. Yeah, so I just describe basically in text how I want the CSS to look like. You may want to just target directly this element and just set the property and don't use these classes, but I just thought that we might want to use this somewhere else, maybe in the footer, so that's just why I called it this way. Let's also use the section padding, and inside of this we will have a div with the class of container. And inside of this div, we will have some sort of heading, or no, so we cannot have the grid in here. We will just move it. So for now, I will just type in here the heading with the class of section heading, and let me also add the class of text center, so that we can once again add another class that will style it, move the text to center. And yeah, I think that this is actually good to go. And inside here I will just type the services like this, and yeah, I think that this is pretty cool. Now let me just add another div with these classes, right? So with the grid and this call. So I'll just control exit, put it in here, and inside here I will have just an article with the class of service, and this will be one of our services. Okay, and this one will have let's just go with some sort of icons. So div with the class of service icon, and inside here we will have just some sort of icon from the font awesome. So font awesome, and let's just use fire. This icon looks pretty cool in my opinion. Alright, underneath we will have just another div with the class of service content, and inside of which we will have a heading of level 3, and let's just call this one service 1. I will leave that up to you to fill, and then we will have some sort of small description of the service probably. So let's just use something like this, and let's just paste it in here, and let's reload the page and see how it looks like. It will look terrible for now, definitely. Okay, there we have it. So yeah, let me actually fix this up. I've noticed that the heading is wide. That is because we used the H3 and then we styled it as a H3 in the hero content, right? So let me just fix that by typing hero content in front of this. So that means it will target only the H3 that is inside of a div with the class of hero content. So like this. So the second one will stay black. So if I reload this, yeah, there it is. Nice. Okay, so let me just style it out a little bit just to see how things look like. So the text center, we'll have the text align to center. That kind of makes sense, right? So if I reload the page, it should be centered. Why it isn't centered? Let's see. Okay, so H2 section heading text center, and there is text. Okay, center. So sorry about it, typo. Yeah, currently it's working. Nice. Let me maybe just change the background of these services a little bit. So let me just say that the services will have the background color of, let's just go with a very light gray, very light, almost white gray. Yeah, you can notice that it changed a little bit, very little. Nice. And maybe I don't really see the section padding, so we need to put it like this, section padding. Sorry about it. And let's reload the page. There it is. Nice. And let me actually style out the article, the service. So, or let me first of all style out these this class. So this will have just a grid template. So grid template columns, and it will be just one fraction. So we will have 3 columns basically. And if I reload it, yeah, there it is. Nice. Now let me style this service. So service, and inside here, let me just put a let's just say that the background color will be totally white, and let me just add some sort of border so that we can see it better. So border 1 pixel solid, and then just go with black, and let's reload the page, see how it looks like. Yeah, there it is. So first of all, let me just add a padding on this. So padding, and let me just put 1 rem from every direction that we use. Okay, there it is. We can maybe put a little bit more. Let's just go with maybe 1.5 because 1 rem is really not that big of a padding. Nice. And let me maybe put the text in here to center, right? So inside of this whole service, we want the text to be at center. So text center. And let's reload the page, see how it looks like. Yeah, that looks much better. Then we can just style out these things a little bit by just typing the service, and then we want to target the heading inside of the service. And let's just add a margin at top of 1 rem and margin at bottom of also 1 rem. Let's see how that would look like if I reload the page. Yeah, I think that this looks actually fairly nice. We can maybe just the margin at bottom make a little bit smaller because the text have a strong relationship between, right? And let me also just target the icon. So service icon, and let me just say that this one will have the font size of 3 rems. Let's see how that looks like if I reload the page. There it is. Yeah, it looks fairly nice. We can maybe make it a little bit smaller, 2.5. And let's see how it looks like now. There it is. That looks better. And let me also change the font size of this text. So font size, and let me just make it 1.6 rems. Let's see how that looks like. I think that this should, yeah, I think that this looks actually fairly nice. Let's just go with that. All right, let me also just add to this grid. Let me just add the section padding so that we have a little bit of space between the heading and the and these services of ours. Nice. And let me actually add a shadow to this. So what I recommend you do is just type into Google a CSS shadow generator, and it will open up some sort of very basic tool that you can use in order to style pretty much any shadow that you want. You can use like whatever values you want, and simply just copy paste this last line into your CSS code. So let's just say that I want the service to have the shadow, so I will just put it like this, and let's reload the page, and there should be a shadow. There it is. And this is fairly large shadow. Let me just actually remove this thing, make it 222, and let me just the blur, make it much smaller. Let's just go with 4 pixels. Let's see how that looks like. Yeah, I think that this looks much better. So let me actually just remove the border. So yeah, we've already actually styled it, so sorry about it. We probably want to just move it in here and just delete this. Okay, so if I save this thing, reload it, we've removed the border from it, and there is a little bit of shadow. We might want to use some sort of brighter shadow. Let's just use something like this. Okay, I think that this looks actually much better. Yeah, I think that this looks actually cool. We can maybe use like AAA, something more darker, because this is really bright. Yeah, but I think that this looks nice. Let's just go with that. And yeah, I think that this looks actually fairly cool. I think that this is really like reasonable. We can also add some sort of border radius. So border radius, and let's just go with 10%. But 10% might be too much. That's probably too much, but let's see. I will reload it, see how it looks like. There it is. Yeah, it's probably too much. Let's just go with 5. So 5%, let's reload it, see how it looks like. I think that this looks nice. I think that this service looks fairly nice. So let's just actually use it. We can maybe just do a little bit of styling of this icon actually. So we can just say that this, how I named it, service icon. Okay, so this div, I want to target this div. So service icon like this, and let me just say that it will have some sort of padding around it of 1 rem. Let me just say that the background color will be this yellow one. Let's see how it looks like. There it is. All right, but let me see how it would look like if I put this to the icon. So this icon will have this sort of, yeah, I think that this looks actually better. So let me just say that the border radius will be 50%. Let's see how that would look like. It should be like somehow circle, but let's just say instead of this padding, let's just say that the width, or let me just add a little bit more padding on the top and bottom. So padding at top and bottom will be 1 rem, and on the y-axis will be 1.5 rem. Let's see how that would look like. Whether it would be a more precise circle. Yeah, so after playing with this a little bit, I think that this looks best. So I will just use a padding of 1.4 and also the border of 2 pixels solid black. Yeah, so let me actually just copy paste all of these articles. So every article, I will just collapse this thing and I will just post it, and this will be our new sections, right? So there should be like 3 services around here. Yeah, there are, but we also need to add some sort of margin. So in here, I will just say that there will be a margin of, let's just go with 0.5 rem. Let's see how that would look like. If we just add a little bit of margin, yeah. Let's just try 1 rem. 0 point is probably too small. Let's just, yeah, 1 rem looks good. So I think that this looks nice. So let me just copy paste more of these so that we have 2 lines just to take a look. Yeah, I think that this looks nice. Let's just go with that. And with all of that being said, you can obviously edit out the text, but I will just keep it blank to save some time, because I believe you don't want me to just watch me just changing names. So I will just create a new section of the team. So let's just call this one team, and we will have a new section with the class of team. Let's just use the background primary. So sorry, primary background, if I'm not mistaken. And let me just use a section padding like this. Okay, now let me just, let me put this underneath like this, save. And let me just create a new heading. So this one will be h2 with the class of section heading, and we will just let's just say our team. Let's see how it looks like. If I reload the page, there should be something. Yeah, there it is. And we definitely want this text to be at center like this. And then underneath we will have another div with the class of grid, and this grid, let's see, I'm not sure whether we want to use like this sort of thing or this sort of thing for these for our teammates. I would probably go with this callout free. So let's just copy paste this whole thing, this thing. Nice. So copy, close this thing, paste it in here, and then we will just define a new article. So article, and this one will have the class of how do I call this, team. Alright, so obviously we need to change it like this. So article with the class of team. We can maybe just add a image in here. So image with the class of image fluid, so that it once again takes up the whole available space. Okay, let's also define the source of the image, obviously. So source, and this one will be from images, and let's just use some sort of person. I think there should be person. Yeah, there it is. So person, and let's also use alt. So that will be up to you to fill. Okay, then underneath we will have a div with the class of team content, and inside here we will have just a h3 heading that will basically describe our teammate. So let's just call this one John Doe. Maybe we can just put a little bit about him, so maybe some sort of really just some sort of punchline, maybe even smaller than this. So like this, and let me also add some sort of social icons of his. So let me just, I think that we've used social icons in this about, right? So at the end there are social links. So let me just copy paste it. Right, usually the copy pasting is actually very good when you create a website, because it keeps things consistent, right, like this. So yeah, I think that this looks actually fairly nice. We can just style this thing out. We will style it later on probably. And I'm thinking, yeah, let me just add the text to center. So text to center. But otherwise I think that we are pretty much good to go. We can maybe put this thing, so we just want to align, well, yeah, I will style it in CSS. Okay, so let me just go here and actually type the theme, and let me actually just make the service and the theme style pretty much the same. So I will just type in here for service and for theme. Let's see, we will keep the things the same. There it is. All right, obviously we want to change, instead of theme in here, let's just call this one theme section. Or we maybe wanted to change this to teammate or something like this, but whatever. All right, so there it is. Then we also don't have container. I forgot about container, so I will just create a new div with the class of container, and I will put this whole grid inside of that. Okay, so I will just control exit inside, and let's reload the page. There it is. Nice. Now we probably have some sort of margin around this. So yeah, there is margin and there is padding. So let me just actually, for the teammate, just remove the padding. So padding will be 0, and let's see how that looks like. So there should be, yeah, the image, it looks much better. And maybe, wow, the image currently have, yeah, I think that this looks actually quite nice. Let's just go with that actually. And we can also just add a theme. We want to target the theme content, if I'm not mistaken. How I call this? Yeah, theme content. So theme content. And we want to target basically the whole text, and we want to put some sort of margin at the top of around 1 rem, and let's just use also some margin at the bottom. So margin bottom of, let's just use also 1 rem, or let's just use something smaller, so 0.5 rem, and let's see how it looks if I reload the page. There it is. I think that this looks actually fairly nice. So now it would be actually nice to align these links in center. So what I will do is just let me just go here, and in this display flex, let me just put a justify content center. And this should just do the trick. So I will just target the class of justify content center, and inside here I will just put justify content and center like this, and let's reload the page, see how it looks like. It should be moved to center. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I think that this looks actually fairly nice. We can maybe just style the font size, and maybe we can just, yeah, let's just style the font size. So font size of the H3. So let me just put it like this. So theme, and we will target the H3 heading, and this will have the font size of 1.8 of rem. Okay, what's happening? All right, there's a mistake in here. So if I move it, save. All right, there's also, wow. So save, yeah, it's working now. And let's also change this to theme, and let's see how it looks like. So yeah, it got a lot larger, and we don't want it that large. Let's just go with 1.2 rems. Yeah, I think that 1.2 is actually way to go. Maybe with these services we've used 1.6. Let me actually just change it to 1.2 and see how it looks like. Yeah, I would go with 1.2 on this one. I think that the small text looks better in here. So let me just copy paste these articles so that we have more teammates. So copy paste, and let's see how it looks like if I reload the page. There it is. There are 3 John Does, and we can change it like to person 1 and person, let's just go with 4, because why not? And you can notice that the height of these images is a little bit different. Let me maybe just pick another one. We can save it would be really hard to fix this, and I don't want to really waste my time on this one, so I will just change it to this image, and it looks actually quite nice now. So this will be our team section basically taken care of, if I'm not mistaken. We can maybe add a little bit of padding to this, so let's just go with section padding in here. And this should add a little bit of space between the our team heading and the whole team that we have. Yeah, let's just go with that. Alright, so that's basically the team taken care of, and let me just actually style out the contact us. So contact us, and this will be once again a section with the class of contact. And we will have a once again section padding, and let me also just start out by creating a heading with the class of section heading, and let's also align the text to center. And let's reload the page, see how it looks like. Once again, we will not see anything, but I will just put a heading contact us in here, and let's see. There it is. There is typo, but yeah, it pretty much doesn't matter. So I didn't fix it, but whatever. So I will create a new div with the class of container, and then I will create a new div with the class of display flex, and justify content center. And inside of this div we will have a form, and inside of the form we will have some sort of div with the class of form group. Yeah, let's just go with form group, and we will have a label that will say, for example, your email, and then we will have a input. So obviously you want to define all of the required properties so that it all works, but I will just keep it like this just to save up some time. Yeah, there it is. Nice. So it's aligned to center, so that looks good. And let me also just put the section padding in here. So section padding in here, and let me just copy paste a couple of these so that we have a proper form. So your email, maybe your name, your phone number, so your phone, and let me just add your message. So your message right here, and instead of input we will have a text area, and once again we need to close this one. So text area, and it's closed. So let's see if I reload the page. There it is, and we have a mistake in here. Okay, it's removed. So now it should look all right. There it is. So let me style it out a little bit by just going in here and styling the let me just say that the input, so we have a contact, if I'm not mistaken, class in here. Yeah, contact, and we want every input that is inside to have the width of 100%. Let's see how that looks like if I reload the page. There it is. It have the width of 100%. Nice. Let's also add some sort of padding around it. So let's just go with 1 rem and 1 rem, or maybe something a little bit smaller for the y and x axis. So let's just sorry, for the yeah, let's just try it out like this. So 0.0. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, yeah, so for the y-axis let's just use 0.5, and for the x-axis let's just go 1. Yeah, let's just use something larger. So yeah, you can see that it's kind of trying and seeing how things look like. We can maybe just say that this justify content center, and yeah, I mean, you can maybe play with this a little bit, just saying that this whole form will have some sort of larger width. You can also just target in here just contact the text area. So you want to style the text area also. And I think that was the reason. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so we styled all of these together, sort of. Now we can just, for example, style the label if you want, but I think that the label actually looks fairly good. So we can just maybe add a let's just add the button at the bottom. So I will just add a link, or you can just add a button input with type submit. I will just leave it as a button with the type of submit, button type submit, and the class of button main. So let's just close this thing, and let's yeah, also something like send. And let's reload the page, see how it looks like. There is a button with the send. Nice. Let's also just change the width of this form. So let me just add a class to this saying that there will be a width of 60%. So let me just say that the width of 60% will mean that the width will be 60%. It should take up 60% of the available space now. Yeah, so that looks much better. Let's just go with that. Yeah, but I mean, like, overall, I think that this looks fairly nice. We can maybe align the button to center. So if I put just or like overall, we can just align these, all of these to center. So let's just use it with this form. Let's just say that the text should be center. Like this. Let's reload the page, see how it looks like. There it is. I think that this looks actually nicer. And maybe we can just put a little bit of margin with the font group. So for form group. So form group. And let's just add some margin at the bottom. So margin bottom. And let's just use 1 rem. So we have like some sort of separation, a little bit at least. So let's reload the page, see how it looks like. Okay. Form group, okay, it's font group for some reason. Sorry. So form, and let me just change that everywhere. That's the problem with copy and paste. You are also copying and pasting your mistakes. Yeah, so right now it's fixed, and I think that this looks actually much better. And let me actually just try to set a image background to this contact. So I will go to main, and then inside here I will just type contact like this, and inside I will just say that I want a background but not color, I want image, and I need a URL. So basically I will just define a link to the image, and currently if you take a look at this file explorer, we are currently at the CSS. So we need to go back to this main folder, then to the image folder, and then select the image. So we will go back by typing these 2 dots. Then we want to go to the image folder, and then we want to select, let's just get this contact BG as a contact background. And let's reload the page and see how it looks like. So if I reload it, and we go down here, you pretty much don't see anything. That's because the image is so big that it is just displaying a really small part of it. So I will just go in here and just say the background size, and I will make it cover. Okay, so this means that it will basically stretch so that it fits the whole thing, okay, like this. And yeah, and I think that this looks actually fairly nice. let's just go with that. I think that this looks fairly nice, but let me just change the text for the context. So let me just go ahead and change the color of this to the white one, to the yellow one, sorry. And let's see how that would look like if we made it yellow. Yeah, it really doesn't look good. Alright, so if I remove this thing, remove this whole thing, and let's reload the page, let's see what can we think of. So you can notice that in the beginning it looks nice, right? But then there is like some sort of black background and there is black text, right, in these labels. So we really cannot read this. So let me just try to target the, just go to contact and just target the labels that are inside. And let me just change the font weight of them to 700. And let me also change the font size to 1.2 rem. And let's see how that would look like. If I reload the page, there it is. But we cannot still see it. Let me just change the color to some gray color. Let's just go with CCC and let's see. If I reload the page, there it is. That's too bright. Let's just go with 666. So the devilish number might help us here. Obviously this is a really tough thing to actually style. I'm afraid that we might have to just set the background color of this. So background color of this to let's just go with white. So background, and then the color can be anything pretty much, but I'm not sure how it will look. Yeah, it looks like this. It doesn't look very good. We can maybe put the width argument and let's just say it will have the width of 100%. You could actually solve it by moving it as a placeholder to these things, but I don't want to do that really. So yeah, let me just try this thing. For the form group, I will just add the background color, because the label is actually a inline element, so it doesn't have width. Okay, so this thing is pretty much useless. And I can just move this background color in here so that it will be set. Let me see if how that looks. There it is. We can now, let me just style the input a little bit. So let me just move this, let me just actually delete this whole thing, or let me just keep it. Yeah, it doesn't look that bad, so let's just keep it this way. But let me style the input. So I will just remove the border. So the border will be none. And let me just say that the background color will be something like AAA. Let's see how that would look like. If we reload the page, there it is. I think it doesn't look that bad actually. We can maybe add a shadow to the whole form group just to see how it looks. Let's just go here and let's use the box shadow, and let me actually add it in here so that we have like, yeah, I think that this actually doesn't look that bad. Let's see what happens if we maybe change this to okay, so sorry, not this thing, but okay, form group. So the background of the form group, if we change it to the primary color, let's see how that would look like. If I reload the page, there it is. Wow. Alright, so let's maybe, what happens if we just keep everything white? So this one will be white and this one will be white. What happens then? I think that this looks actually really nice. The problem might be that the user might not notice where is the actual input. So if I just make it like somehow a little darker, so let's just use the FF, it might be just enough for the user to actually know that, okay, like, yeah, the input is here and this is just the label. Yeah, I think that let's just go with this. I think that this looks actually fairly nice. So yeah, let's just use that. So with all of that being done, let me just style out the footer. So we will just create not a section. We will create first of all a comment saying that this is a footer, and we will create a new footer element. And let's just add the class to this. So the class will be a padding section, or section padding, like this. And let's just call this one footer. And let's see how it looks like. We probably want to make it black, but we will style it later on in our CSS. Let's just add a h2 with the class of section heading. Or we actually don't need section heading here. We just need a div with the class of container. And then we probably just want to use some sort of div with the class of row, or like grid. And then we probably just want to use this call1 thing. So call1 and another call1. And I think that that should be just about it. Now we can have a div with the class of how do I call this one? So info, let's just call this one info, and in here we will have a link with the href that will be up to you, and we can also just put the link as a, how the hell did we call this thing? Profit theme. All right, profit theme. Let's use this thing and let's remove it, and let's also add the class of footer logo. So footer logo, like this. Nice. Underneath this we can have a couple of paragraphs, just basically like describing once again the company. So let me just add one of them. Only one paragraph should be just enough to actually tell your story. And last but not least, we probably want to have the social icons. So let me just once again copy paste it. It's as simple as that. We will just keep things consistent. There's no need to try to somehow make the other social icons look somehow different. I think that it's just enough to keep things consistent. Okay, so then we will have another div with the class of links, and this will be just a navigation. So we will have maybe some sort of h3 headings in here. This will say just useful links, and we will have some sort of unordered list, inside of which we will have a list items with some sort of some sort of href. And yeah, so this might be our actual like, let's just use it about us, our actual the same thing that we did in the header of the page, right? We will do it in the footer, basically like this. So if I just copy paste it a couple of times, I think that that should kind of make the job, and I think that you should be able to just imagine what will be here, and then we will have maybe some sort of let's just use something like a legal links. Let's just do legal links, and in here we just want like some sort of privacy policy and stuff like that, you know, like the owner of the website, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that this looks fairly reasonable. We can move all of this to center, so text center for both of these. So text center and text center here. Let's see how that looks like. Okay, I think that this looks nice, and okay, let me style it in our CSS. I think that we don't really need to wait for it. So I will just target the whole footer, and I will just say that the background color will be the black one, and the color will be the white one. So let's just use this one. So this is usually what you want to do with the footer. You want to really like make the style completely different from the whole page. So that's just usually what you want to do. Then we have a problem with the logo. So I pretty much know what's happened. Okay, let me just, yeah, it's a link. Yeah, we've changed links. So let me just, first of all, let me find the logo. So Control F, and let's just go for the logo. There it is. And let me just put the footer logo in here also. And let's see, if I reload the page, it will not be seen, but if I just hover over it, yeah, it looks nice. So let's just go with that, and let me actually target it in the footer. So footer and footer logo, or let me just do it this way. I think that this should also work. So if I just go color and use the black one like this and reload the page, it should, sorry, white one, it should be white, and it is nice. And let me maybe just add a little bit of margin at the bottom. So margin bottom of 1 rem, like this. Let's see. Okay, so the overall problem is with the links in footer. So let me just override it by typing footer and then A. So any link inside of the footer, and let's just make the color of it white one, and that should actually do the trick. So if I reload the page, there it is. But this thing doesn't have the margin. Why it doesn't have the margin? So if I use the developer tools and hover over this, you can notice that the margin bottom, there is a margin at bottom, but it really isn't seen. Oh, I know. It's a link. We are trying to add the margin at bottom to a link. So that obviously makes no sense. So we need to target this paragraph actually. So not the footer logo, but let me just put in here the footer, and let me just target the paragraph in there. And instead of margin at bottom, we will change it to margin at top. Once again, link is a inline element, so it doesn't have margin at bottom. Okay, cool. Then we have these social links. I think that it's okay if we keep it this way. We can maybe just align the text to center even with the info. So text center. I think that might look good if I reload the page. See how it looks like. Okay, so I will scroll down. Yeah, I think that this looks much better. And let me just style out these useful links and stuff like that. So for the footer, I just want to target the footer and these H3 links in there. And I just want them to have the font size of something larger. Let's just go with 1.3 rems. Let's see how that would look like. And we can maybe just make it uppercase, but that way it would look the same way as the heading does. So we don't necessarily want that. Let's just add the margin at bottom. So margin bottom of 1 rem. And let's maybe just make it smaller. So 1.1 I think should do the trick. Let's reload and once again scroll down. There it is. I think that this looks fairly nice. And then we also want to add some sort of margin to these link items. So footer and then list item. And let's just add, once again, let's just go with margin bottom. And let's just put it like 0.5 or something like that. And let's see how it looks. If I once again scroll down completely, there it is. I think that this looks reasonable. The footer is always the kind of hard part to style about on your website, but the good thing is that not a lot of people actually scroll down to footer. So yeah, silver lining. But anyways, let me just add lastly the kind of credits. So I will just add a div with the class of credits, and in here you usually just want to write who created the page. So made by Lucas, like me, that's me. And you also want to add the copyright and the year, and all rights reserved, like this, and reload the page, see how it looks like. If I just scroll completely down, there it is, made by me. We probably want to move it to center, so text center, and I think that this should be the last reload that we will do. I think that this is the final product. Yeah, I think that this looks good. Alright, so let's make this page actually responsive. So I will just open up the developer tools, and you can use this sort of small button in order to make the website look like it is displaying on its mobile on your mobile phone, right? And you can see that the website pretty much looks horrible at this point. So what I will do is just I will style it out so that it doesn't. So what I will do, first of all, we will need to use in the CSS some sort of if condition, and so that we can check if we are displaying on a mobile phone. So how do we do that? Well, we do that via a width. So we are basically checking whether the width of the device is smaller than, let's say, just 500 pixels. We say, okay, it's a phone. Okay, so in order to actually access that width, we need the metadata tag, and inside here we need to name it the viewport. So viewport, and we need to make the content attribute. So there's a content attribute, and we need to set the width to be equal to the device width. So like this, okay? And another thing that we need to set is the initial scale. So initial scale, and we set it to 1 so that it doesn't scale. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And then we can just go to our CSS and actually use this add media. So media, like this, and inside here you can just type max width, and in here if you just say like max width of 500 pixels, it means that the CSS that is written inside here will apply only if the device is smaller than 500 pixels. Okay, so let's just say that the background primary, or the primary BG, okay? Let's just say the background color to something totally different. So let's just change it to black so that we see that this thing applied in here. Yeah, there it is. It's black right now. So cool. All right, so it works. So let me just remove this thing and style it out a little bit. So what I usually do is just I use the F12 in order to open up the developer tools. Nice. And then I just take a look in here and just see where is the problem. So we definitely have a problem with these calls, right? So every single one of these will have a huge impact, right? You can see that it overflows the display by quite a lot. So we need to fix this thing. So let me just check which one of these we've used. We've used definitely this one. So we need to target it in here. So let's just dot this class, and we will say that the grid template columns will be just one fraction. So that means it will take just one column, and that's just the whole display. So that's the way you want to do this, right? And you want to do the same for all of the columns that we used. So if I'm not mistaken, we've used col2, col1, and then we've also used this one. So let me just save this thing and reload the page. It should help out a lot, and it does, right? You can see that currently it's looking fairly responsive if you just don't count this header. But yeah, let me just fix the header right now. So we want actually target everything that is displayed flex in this header. So how we have, okay, so we have the header with the class of header. Okay, so class of header in here, and then we want to display everything that's display flex, and we want to change it. So let me just target it. So I want to target everything that is in header, and I want everything that have the class of display flex to have the flex direction. So flex direction, and we want this to be column. Okay, so that it grows downwards, not to the side. So if I reload the page, there it is. It starts to grow downwards, and you can notice that the page is currently responsive, right? We cannot go to left and to right. It just takes the full width. So that's cool. But we still have a lot of work to do. So, well, not that lot. It's like 50 lines of code, I would guess. So let me just style the navigation a little bit. Let me just add some sort of padding of, let's just go with 1 rem. And let's also align the text to center. So text align center, like this. Let's see how that would look like. If I reload the page, there it is. Nice. So now let me style the length of in the navbar. All right, so inside here, let me just target the navbar, navigation bar class, and we've had list items in there. And let me just add some sort of padding around these. So definitely a padding at the top of like 0.5 rem at least, and the same thing for the bottom. So padding bottom of let's just go with 0.5 rem. 0.5 rem, like this. And let me just remove the space, and let's reload the page and see how it looks like. There should be a lot of space around this. There it is. It's up to you whether you want to keep it this way or whether you want to just add some sort of padding to this. Like overall, we would probably want to just remove maybe some of the margins. So let me just target the nav bar. And let me just search for the previous one. Okay, so we've had margins in here. So we probably want to remove this. So inside here, I will just type margin will be 0. Like this. And let's reload the page, see how it looks like. You really don't see the change because it's aligned at center. But once I add the border, let's just add a border at top of 1 pixel. Solid and black one, so like this, and let's reload the page. There it is. So there's a big difference in there. And let me also just add the line underneath the last link. So let me just add a class of mobile border bottom or something like this. So border bottom, and I will just put this line in there. So copy paste. So here paste, and I will just put bottom instead of top. And then I will also go to the index.html, and in here I will just add a class to this item, and it should be like border bottom, if I'm not mistaken. So border bottom. Let me just reload the page. Yeah, there it is. So nice. Also, another thing that you may want to you may notice is that these headings are very, very large. That is, in my opinion, because on the laptop, right, the RAMs are still taking into consideration the size of the display. It's still thinking basically that it is on a laptop. But if you would use it on a mobile phone screen, I think it would look smaller, and I think it would look better. But anyways, let me just edit it out by just targeting the H1, and let's just say that the font size could be something like I don't know, let's just go with 2 rems. Okay, so 2 rem, and let's see how it looks like. If I reload the page, it should get a lot smaller. There it is. Let's also target the H3 now, because that's another heading that looks very horrible right now because it's larger than the H1. So let's just make it 1.3 rems, like this. What's happening? Okay, these needs to look like this. Let me remove this thing and let me put it back. So right here, and if I reload the page, there it is. Let me also target the button main. So inside here, I will just target the button main, and let me just set that the padding will be 1 rem and then 2 rems on the x-axis, so that it is a little bit smaller. Yeah, there it is. I think that this looks actually fairly nice. Then what we want to do is for all of these text right classes, so text right, we want to align the text to center actually. I know that this is kind of it feels weird to say that the text align is center to a class that's named text right, but for the mobile phone you need to have the text centered at center right. It doesn't make sense to float it to right. Yeah, let me also just take a look at this thing. So we have the button main. Where is the problem? In about us, right? So we need to put a little bit of space. Oh, sorry, it's the call to action. So let me just, in here, let me just add some sort of margin to this thing, just so that the button doesn't overflow to the text. So let me just add margin on top of just 2 rems. And let me actually just move it also to center. So let's just say text align center like this, and let's see how it looks like. I think it should look fairly cool. Yeah, there it is. I think it looks nice. And then when we move around the page, I think that we are actually almost done. Yeah, we need to fix this form. So we've used the class of width of 60%. So now we will just say that the width will be 100%, because we want this to be larger on the mobile phone, right? So currently it looks much better. Yeah, I think that this is the way to go. But overall, I think we are done. So this is basically like a couple minutes and we've made the website responsive. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, feel free to hit the like button. It's free and it helps me out quite a lot. Also, feel free to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this one. And I will see you next time. Bye.